Hey guys, I'm Mark Faris, and I wanted to record a video that is going to give you hope. If you're a young adult and you're somewhere between, say, 18 to maybe even 40, and you haven't purchased a home and you think it's out of reach, this video is for you. Now, even if you're a teenager, if you're like, 15, 16, 17, and you're curious about what real estate is all about, this video should give you some hope. A quick backstory on myself. I was 17 years old and I was playing hockey. I was playing some junior hockey at the time. I was in Owen Sound. And I picked up this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And what it did was it planted an idea that real estate could help me accomplish a lot of my dreams that I had in life. Like when I talk about dreams, I talk about, being able to travel anywhere, being able to spend the time doing the things that I wanted to do with the people that I wanted to do it with. I wanted to be able to buy a nice car and live in a nice home and not always have to depend on my parents. That was something that was really important for me. And this book that I picked up when I was 17, it changed everything for me because it gave me direction and it gave me, we'll say, a pathway to be able to follow. And it changed the way that I was thinking. And this book was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And in there, Robert talks about this idea that when you're buying something, buy something that is an asset, not a liability. And real estate was the path. So what ended up happening was I watched a late night infomercial, and it was a free event. So it was a couple hours away from where I was living. And I called my sister up at the time. She was 19. And I said, hey, let's go to this free real estate event. Let's go learn how to buy real estate. And so so my sister and I, we drove out there, went to this free event. And in the event, they actually had at the end, they had this upsell to buy a $1,000 course to be able to learn more about real estate. So Stephanie and I, we put our credit cards together and we bought this course. And so we went on that next course and it taught us more about real estate. And then there was another course after that. It was like a $3,000 to $4,000 course. And we realized that, we're getting one step closer, but at the same time, we were spending more money than we actually had. And we was more of, okay, let's just keep going down this pathway. And what ended up happening was eventually we ended up buying a rooming house near the college. It was an 8-bedroom rooming house. And so my sister, myself, and my mom, we actually bought this 8-bedroom rooming house in Barrie, actually just outside of Georgian College. So it was like walking distance. And so we rented that house out. And so that was our very first experience getting into real estate. And I look back and reflect on that now. And so it was the book that was the catalyst, but I just needed a little bit of instruction to be able to take that next step. Looking back on this now, we didn't need the course to be able to buy the property, but the course actually gave us the knowledge and the know-how to be able to take action. And I want to be that resource for you so you don't have to go and spend thousands of dollars on a course, and you can actually get in to a home much sooner with a no cost to you as well. And so this video should be short enough to be able to give you, we'll say, hope and next steps to be able to get into home ownership. So through the years, we've sold thousands of properties. We've helped over 13,000 people buy and sell homes. And I and my wife, we bought hundreds of properties through the years. And so the reason I'm sharing this is that I'm telling you from experience that it is doable for you as well. Now, I am going to acknowledge that the pricing is higher today than when we had originally bought. But that being said, I do believe that it is possible if you believe it is possible for you. But real estate has changed my life. And so there's the business of selling real estate, but it's the investing side is what's been able to open up our dreams and has been able to help us be able to meet really, really great people. And so you can see here, we met some of my childhood heroes. You have Robert Herjavec and Damon John there on the left, the Dragons, but Sylvester Stallone from Rocky. I mean, this guy was like my hero, and that the Rocky song. Eye of the Tiger is just something that it just gets me pumped up every time I hear it. And that was actually Rocky that he wrote the screenplay for this. And I asked Sylvester Stallone, they call him Sly, I said, what's your favorite book? And he looked at me, he said, Moby Dick. So if you want his favorite book, Moby Dick, he's a real writer there and has a really cool story. But real estate has allowed me to meet some really phenomenal people. And so when I look through the years of what real estate's been able to do for many, many of our clients, it's been able to help them build wealth, gives them freedom to be able to do the things that they want to do, and it gives them security as well, knowing that they have a home to come back to. And so what gets in the way of this? Well, there's a few things. There's lack of down payment, as in you need to bring a certain amount of money to the table in order to buy a home, and we call this a down payment. And so many people out there just don't have any savings. And so we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about once you have a down payment, you need to be able to qualify. And so we're going to be able to talk about some of the tactics to be able to get you there faster as well. Lack of knowledge is another reason why people don't buy real estate. Fear of ownership, of just taking that next step and then trying to do it all alone. I think this last one is the biggest thing that prevents people from getting in. And so when I look at all of these, it's like, okay, what can we do to get you over these big challenges or problems that are standing in the way of the younger generation? Because I really believe that it is possible. It is harder, but what I'm going to share with you today is going to help you get there. Now, first, I just want to really reiterate how important it is to get into home ownership. So again, if you're 15 years old, 14, 16, 17, 18, and you're saying, I'm not quite ready yet, but I want to know this is going to be good for you. And even if you are, in your 30s and you haven't bought your first home yet, this is going to be helpful for you as well. So first, why is it important? If you look at the average net worth of a homeowner versus somebody that's renting, the average homeowner has a net worth, as in they are richer by 30 times, over 30 times more rich than somebody that's renting. Okay, so the average net worth of a homeowner, $396,000. The average net worth of a renter is $10,000. Now, what does that mean? That means if they were to sell all of the property, everything that they have, and they had money left over, how much would they have once they pay off all their debts and everything? How much money do they have left over? And so the homeowner, on average, has 30 times more than somebody that's renting. That should tell you a lot. The other thing is that when you look across the board, millionaires, 90% of millionaires use real estate in order to get there. 90%. And so this is Andrew Carnegie. So he, back in the mid-50s, was the richest man in the world. And look what he had to say about investing in real estate. And so the numbers haven't changed. And so real estate is so important. And once you believe it's important, then your mind goes around figuring out a way in order to get there. Okay? And this is what I want to start with, is that I really believe the number one factor, the number one indicator, if you are going to be buying a home or not, is if you think it's possible. If you think it's possible. Because if you think it's not possible for you, you won't even try to get there. And so this, to me, is this idea of mindset, this idea of belief is so critical. And I don't think it's easy for you out there today as well, because it could be a family member, it could be the news, it could be the posts you're scrolling on social media and saying it's not possible for first-time home buyer, for the younger generation to buy homes. And so when you see that and you believe it, that's the thing. If you believe it, then it'll be exactly the way that you thought. So it's like, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And this is something that Henry Ford, that built the Ford cars driving around, he was the original guy that started that company, and he said that. And so if you believe that you can own a home, that is the beginning. That's the very first step to home ownership, is believing it's possible for you. So once you believe it's possible for you, then it's like, okay, how are we going to do this? So to give you context, I wanted to break down what the overall costs are for owning a home and how much money you would actually need on average. So this is just giving you a ballpark. So let's just take a $500,000 property, which is a potential for you. You can find $500,000 properties in around surrounding the Barrie area. And so Simcoe County, you can find them. We can find those for you. So we'll say that the down payment, the minimum down payment is 5% that you would need to bring down. So what happens is when you find a property that you like, you go to the bank and you say to the bank, hey, listen, can you partner with me to go buy a property? So if you see a $500,000 property, you go to the bank and say, hey, listen, I have my 5%, which is $25,000. I have that. And will you fund the rest? And what they do is they give you this thing called a mortgage. And a mortgage is basically like a fancy word for a loan. And so what they do is say, yeah, you know what, we'll look at the property and say, yeah, you know, it appraises out as in that we believe the value is what you paid, and we'll actually fund 95%. Now, there's a program called CMHC. It's a government program that actually partners up with the bank in order to come up with the 95%. But I want to keep it simple for you. You bring 5% and the bank will fund the rest. And so you could see the interest rate that they would charge you is in around that 4.2% today. And what they can also do as well is they can actually give you a longer, as a first-time buyer, they can give you a longer payment, which would, instead of paying it back in 25 years, they can go up to 30 years for you now, which is great. But let's just look at, okay, if you go 25-year amortization and a 5% down, what does that look like for your monthly expenses? Like, how much would this cost to actually own a home? Well, if you put 5% down, then your monthly payment would be around $2,400 a month. Now, there are some extra expenses here with that. You do need to pay property taxes. So the municipal government, so the city wants their a little bit of money to be able to, pay for the garbage to come, pick the garbage up at the end of the road, maintain the roads in around, and so they charge property taxes if you own a home. So we'll say that'll be about a couple $100 a month, and then there's home insurance in case the home burns down. You want to make sure you have insurance that they'll rebuild it for you so you're not out of pocket, and the lender will require that as well. So that's around $100 a month. And then you have heat and hydro, and if you're in city, it'll be water. So that'll be approximately another couple $100 a month. So in around, it could be up to around $3,000 a month that would cost you if you put 5% down. Okay, so this is just ballpark. Now, if you said, hey, listen, I don't have a down payment and I can't save that. I don't make that kind of money to be able to carry a property. I'm going to give you some tactics there to be able to lower both of those actually so that you can get into home ownership faster. Just remember, possibility thinking is the first step. Just believing that it's possible and that there's a way. Okay, that's the beginning part. So just stay with me here. So how can we'll say, look at if you have parents and they're watching this with you, that's wonderful. Okay. You might have another family member that can help you take that next step. But you that are watching, if you're like, again, you're 18 to 40 years old, you haven't bought a property yet, and you have other family members that are open to be able to help you with, I have some ideas here for you. Now, what you can do is, number one, if you are living at home right now, living at home is a gift that your parents gives you, okay? Especially when you get past, 18 years, you can go out into the workforce and you can start working and start paying on your own. But if you're living at home, that's such an opportunity to be able to work and save because you don't have monthly payments. And so if this is your scenario right now, I would be taking that as much as I can to the level to save as much as possible. And so you might want to help out a little bit, with some, a little bit of expenses here and there. You can help your parents carrying the home. But if they say, you know what, everything that you make, you can save for your home. If they can do that, then that is something that is a gift. I would say thank you so much, but don't squander that opportunity because this is an opportunity to make as much as you can and save during that period because you'll save way faster than once you get out there and then you start having expenses. You got to start paying rent. So that is the first thing. If you are living at home, start saving as fast as possible because it's a gift that your parents are allowing you to stay there for free. And so again, you might want to spend a little bit for food and help your family out. They would really appreciate that. But saving as much as you can while you're at home is a major gift. Now, in order to qualify for a loan, you may not be making enough. And this is where you can actually go to a family member, to her parent and say, hey, can you co-sign with me? So they'll sign and you'll sign. There's also an option if you were to ask a family member for a gift or a loan for the down payment where you can actually pay it back. Another thing is if you come up with a down payment and you can't quite cover the carrying costs, you can ask for help with carrying the monthly mortgage or the monthly, we'll say, expenses along the way to be able to help you actually carry that property. Another way is to buy that property jointly with one of your parents. And another way to be able to qualify is to start building your credit sooner. So this could mean actually getting a joint credit card to start building your credit so that by the time you buy a property, the lender could say there's a track record of you being able to make your payments on time. Now, another creative way that some people have done it before is the parents have actually bought the home, and what happens is there's a lease to own. So let's just say your parents charge you, we'll say, $2,500 a month. Well, if you are paying, we'll say $2,500 a month, and they might charge you $3,000, that $500 is for savings that eventually you're going to be buying the house from them. And so this is called the lease to own arrangement. And then, last but not least here, the money building habits is something that is something like if you just start today. Now I have a couple books here I'm going to reference here in a minute, but going back to your parents or family member helping, in general, there is, if they own a home, there's equity in their property, as in they can go to the bank and ask for some funds to be pulled from the home that they own in order to help you get into your home. And so this is a potential, I've seen it done many times before, where the parents will pull some equity or pull some funds from the home that they're living in, and they'll get it at a low interest rate, and then they can help buy your property, get you into home ownership. Now, this is not for everyone, and some parents can't do it, but if it's possible, that is a very good option. Now, the key is that you just don't go and say, hey, can you do this? The key is to actually write a plan out. A plan of action is, here, I've done my research, and here's the type of property I want to buy, and here's what I'm asking for, and here's what's in it for you, and this is how I'm going to pay you back. And if you go with that approach versus just winging it, there's a much likely chance that your parents will say, yes, I will invest in you. I will invest to be able to help you get into home ownership. But this is something that the more work you put in, the higher that you show them that you're actually thinking through this, the higher the chances that your parents will say, yeah, that's something that I'm going to take that bet on you, because they want the best for you. They really want the best for you, and they don't want to, we'll say, they want to make sure that when you get into the property, it's something that you can handle. So by taking that first step and showing a plan to be able to get into home ownership, it gives them more peace of mind that when you get into that property, that you are going to take complete ownership. And we talk about this on our team. We talk about 100% responsibility and zero excuses, as in when you get in that property and you make a commitment to your parents to be able to maintain it, to be able to pay them back, whatever it is, you do everything in your power to make that happen. That is really, really important because everybody has their own reputation, and you want to be able to be reputable to your parents that you are responsible enough where they can invest in you and you can follow through on your word. And if you do this with your parents, it's a very good first step in life to be able to do it with other business partners moving forward. This is such a major win if you get this check mark. But first, you got to put in some little bit of work to show your plan as to how you're either going to pay them back or what the plan is to be able to make sure that you can carry this property and that they're not going to have this, another property that they're going to have to, swoop in and save the day for you. You standing on your own 2 feet starts with having a very strong plan. So the 2 books that, if I were to recommend 2, I shared the story about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that it changed my thinking when it came to real estate when I was 17 and allowed us to get into my very first property, buying with my sister and my mom at the time. Well, she's still my mom, but at the time when we purchased the property. But the other really good book on helping you to save is called The Wealthy Barber. And so David Chilton wrote this book, and it is a really great book to be able to just start saving. And at the end of the day, it is possible for you to save for the down payment as well. So here's some other ideas. If you say, hey, listen, I want to lower my costs, it's still too high. You have a few ideas here. So one is buying out of town. So generally, the further you drive out of town, and generally it's the further you drive north, but out of town generally, pricing gets lower and lower and lower. So if you're open to, say, commuting to work and you're okay with driving 30 to 45 minutes, you'll get something that will be a little less costly. The other thing you can do is buy pre-construction. So what happens generally is you can go down and put say $1,000 down and maybe 5% to buy a property that is going to be built, we'll say 2 or 3 years later. And so you can wrap up a price for today, and as property values rebound in 2 to 3 years, then that can be a really solid option for you. The other one is to buy smaller. So maybe you want to buy a smaller condo just to get into the market, or smaller home. This is something that a lot of people do just to get into the marketplace. The other one is to buy something that needs a little bit of sweat equity. And so we call this a fixer-upper. And so and I would recommend not doing anything major, just paint, flooring, cosmetic stuff. You don't want to get into anything structural because that can be, thousands and thousands of dollars, and that will eat your budget up right away. So just more cosmetic, dated stuff. And then you can slowly improve that, which increases the value of the home. And we call that sweat equity. You work at it and you make it more valuable. The other one is to buy with rental income. So what you can do here is you can buy, we'll call it a 2-unit home, where you can live in the lower level and rent out the main level. So say the main level will command higher rents. You can take that lower 1-bedroom apartment in the basement, live there just to start, and rent out the upstairs where it can look after majority of your carrying costs. And so I've seen a lot of people do this, and then what ends up happening is when they save up enough from their home, they actually move out of the lower level, they buy another property, and then they rent out the lower level to somebody else. And now they have 2 incomes coming in, paying off that first home. So the other thing you can do is actually rent out rooms. And this is what I did on my very first property. I was living in one room and we were renting out the rest of the rooms to other college students. And so again, this allowed us to get into home ownership a lot faster. And now some people say, you know what, I'd like to buy with a friend. That is possible, buying with another friend. Just be very cautious that you're buying with somebody that is responsible, because we've seen it before where partnerships that break up, say they're friend members, or you buy it with 3 others. There's so many different variabilities when it comes to how life changes. And so just be very cautious if you're buying with a friend. Okay. But these are all different options to lower your costs. Now, if you say, hey, listen, all of that sounds good, but I still don't have any money and I just want something that's going to be much easier. Well, I have a solution for you. There's some free money that you can get access to, and I'm going to show you here. There's actually one option where you can actually get a free down payment. Free down payment. I'm not joking. There's a program here I'm going to show you in a minute. But first, I'm going to share that when you buy a property, there's this thing called land transfer tax. Now, this is generally in around like 2%, 1 to 2% of the purchase price, in that range. Now, in Ontario, you can get a first-time home buyer land transfer tax rebate where you can actually get up to $4,000 back to you. So you have a major advantage. Buying a property could be up to $4,000 less than when I buy a property, okay? And that's something you should take advantage. That's free money for you. The other thing is if you're working right now, you can claim, if you buy your first home, the year that you purchase, you can actually use a $10,000 tax credit to be able to lower the amount of income you're making, which means that you will be paying less taxes. So you can actually get $1,500 back in your taxes just by taking advantage of this first-time home buyer tax credit. All right, now if you've been saving for RRSPs along the way and you have money sitting there, that is something you can tap into those RRSPs and you can actually pull it out and use up to $60,000 to be used as your down payment. Okay. And so the thing is with this program, you do need to pay it back within 15 years, but it allows you to tap into money that perhaps you've already saved. Okay. Now, this is something that if you haven't been saving along the way, this is probably one of the best programs that are out there for helping you to save money. Now, this first home savings account, what it is that if you're making money right now, you can contribute up to $8,000 a year to this program. And what happens is you're basically not paying any tax on that money that you've made that you can save. So $8,000. So if you do this for 5 years, you have $40,000 there, and you can pull that out tax-free, absolutely tax-free, and you can use it as your down payment. And so this program is phenomenal for helping you save way faster, because when I make money, for example, I need to pay tax on that money. And the highest tax bracket in Ontario is like 52%. So over 50% you have to pay to the government. And so for you to be able to save and not have to pay tax on it, up to $40,000, it allows you to get to your goal much, much sooner. Now, this program here is a phenomenal program called this First Time Home Buyer Simcoe County Homeownership Assistance Program. So it's long, but it's actually a very, very cool program that allows you to actually get a free down payment. Free down payment. So you can get up to 10%, so a maximum of $50,000 as a forgivable loan to be used as your down payment. And so this is available to anybody living in Simcoe County. You do need to be renting, so you need to actually be renting somewhere to be able to get access to this. And you have to have income under 121,000 and assets below 20,000. So this is a program for people that actually need it. And you don't need to make monthly payments on this. This is a complete interest-free loan. It's a gift if you don't sell that home that you bought for 20 years. If you stay in that home and you don't do any sort of refinancing or anything, this is something that allows you to get that free down payment. Okay, this is a phenomenal program. Some other things, the home you buy does need to be below $712,000. You need to be over 18, Canadian citizen, and not own any other property. You do need to be pre-approved from a mortgage broker, which we can definitely help you with that. And the funding in order to be able to get approved is there's limited money out there for this program, and it could take within 6 to 12 months. So this is a program, if you're interested, make sure you start the process sooner to be able to get approved. And so if you do refinance, or we'll say go to the bank and ask for more loans on the home, or maybe you sell the property, it does re-trigger that repayment of the loan and a small share of the upside, but it gets you into home ownership, and that's the key here. And so with all that said, my hope is that you've taken a few nuggets from this, and the biggest one, my hope is that how important home ownership is for you moving forward, and that it is possible for you. Now, the biggest reason why I see people not get into home ownership is because they try to do it on their own. And there's this really good book called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan. This book basically says that if you're having a challenge with anything, the first step is to not so much ask for how to do it. It's more like, who can help me do it? Okay. And so my hope here is that you don't try and do this all alone. First, if you have a parent or a family member that is there, reach out to them and ask for help with it, and come with a plan as to, here's what I'd like to do. And that plan will really impress them. If you have a written plan, that will really, really impress them. Now, the other thing that's really important is that you can actually hire a professional real estate agent. So anybody that's out there that is looking to help you, they can help you buy a property, and you pay absolutely nothing to hire a buyer agent to help you here. Now, we would love to be able to do that with you, but if you have somebody that you're like, I love this person, I want to reach out to them, that's totally cool as well. But get some help. Get some help here to be able to get that next step, to be able to get you introduced to a really good mortgage broker, to get you introduced to the right lawyer and the right accountant and the right home inspector and all the people that you need in order to get into home ownership. And the right agent will get you tapped into a lot of these programs as well. So you don't need to do it all on your own. That is such a huge point. You don't need to do this all on your own. There are people that are out there that can help you. And, moving forward there, it is possible for you. So who, not how. So to summarize everything, first off, it is possible for you. It is possible for you. So whether you're 15 years old watching this or you're 40, it is possible, and that's half the equation, is believing it's possible for you. And we've all experienced this when you start looking for things, right? So say one of your, maybe your parents, or you just bought like a new vehicle, you start seeing that vehicle everywhere you go. And so this is something that if you start believing it's possible, you start to connect the dots to make it possible for you. The second thing is to ask for help. Ask for a family member, a parent. But when you're asking, take the first step and show a plan of what you're actually asking for, so that they can actually invest in you, and they're not going to have to come and like babysit you along the way, that you're taking 100% responsibility of the process, and you're not giving any sort of excuses as to why it's not working. That is really, really good. It's a tough message, but it's something that will really help you moving forward. It'll increase the likelihood that your parents and family members will actually invest with you and come beside you and want to work with you on this. The other is to lower your costs. I gave you a bunch of really good ideas on how you can actually lower your costs for carrying costs to carry the mortgage, the property, and for your down payment as well. And so there are a lot of ideas there that can actually make it much more likely that you will be able to get into a home. The other one is to tap into this free money that's out there for you. It just takes a little bit of steps there. And if you reach out to us, we can help you get connected there to take those steps. But the free money is sitting there. You just need to reach out and ask for it. And then last but not least, hire a pro that does this full time. And it does not cost you anything. There's no sort of cost when you work with a professional realtor that can get you dialed in on everything. And that is a big misconception out there. A lot of people think when they hire a realtor to help them buy a home, that they have to pay, and they don't. It's actually the seller that looks after both the agent helping the seller and the agent helping the buyer. And so the buyer does not actually need to come out of pocket on that. So if you do those 5 things moving forward, it'll really help you. Now, I am going to be recording a video in the coming months here that's going to be diving deeper. So watch out for that on faristeam.ca. There's going to be a link below if you want to book a one-on-one with us, Faris Team, and talk a little bit about what your goals are moving forward. We can make sure that we partner you with somebody that is in your local area, that's on our team, that's highly trained, that doesn't cost anything, and can help you get to that next level of home ownership, because that is the biggest determinant in wealth generation moving forward, in my belief, is home ownership. get into home ownership as fast as you can, and it is possible for you. Thanks, guys.